Hello everyone, Burb here. Just wanted to get this video out before the banner actually releases to give everyone as much info as possible before making their carrot determinations. I know I'm down to the wire, so if you're just looking for the conclusion, she's a good pickup. She's absolutely not required. I think that many videos have gone over this topic and have all gone to the same conclusion. But if you're looking for the thought process, or you are just here for the math or for the ride, I appreciate you. Let's talk about fine motion. So I've done two videos on this topic, comparing them to different cards. I'm not going to go through too much math, but Fine Motion is a very good card, and especially because she is probably the best stat stick in the game currently, and remains that for quite some time. She has very high friendship bonus at 37.5%. The combination of training effectiveness and mood effect basically means she has an effective 20 to 21% training effectiveness, and she has a whip bonus. So she's kind of become the gold standard of what to look for in a card for as far as stat generation. If a card has pretty close to 35% friendship bonus, has a combination of mood effect and training effectiveness, as well as having a stat bonus of its particular stat, it's usually a very, very good stat stick for training. And the combination of that plus the actual race bonus means that she's good in Mant and she's good in Grand Life. So it's a card that has some everlasting impacts onto the game. There's a few caveats to that we will get into, but she is a great pickup and a great stat stick. You are not going to go wrong with this card. So the actual training itself. Trainings in this game basically are just base training plus stat bonus times the growth rate of your Uma, and then the actual stuff that's on the card, mood effect, just multiplies the mood bonus. So if you're at great mood, it's 20% above. If you're in awful mood, it's 20% less. So we're going to assume great mood for a lot of it just because of how much and how easy it is to increase, your mood to great again. Right now we're almost always going to have a PAL card to do it. And in Make a New Track, you can just buy an item to increase your mood. So you're going to be at good at least, if not great. So basically, like if you have 20% and your mood effect is in this case 30%, you essentially have a 1.26 modifier. Then you multiply by your training effectiveness, then your friendship bonus, and then finally there's this hidden stat called participant count bonus. The fact that there's a card on a training gives a 5% participant count bonus as well. So when you go through Fine Motion's numbers, you start out at 11 for a level 5 training, as it's 6 plus 4. You have a mood effect that increases it to 13.86 because you're multiplying by 1.26. Your training effectiveness adds another 15% to 15.93. Your friend bonus, which is when you have a rainbow training, goes to 21.9 after that with that multiplication. And then your participation bonus, which is something I didn't do in the previous two videos because they were comparisons, so they were the same. The participation bonus basically makes that up to 23. For speed, she has essentially a 4 speed base on a level 5 training. I'm doing level 5 training because normally she's not alone, so you're going to get at least something else on this. So there's this concept that I personally call thresholding, in that what is what you want out of a training that you don't feel sad. And I feel like the true power of Fine Motion is that she hits these thresholds, these mental thresholds that we put on ourselves alone. So a level 5 training gives 23 wit rounding down, 4 speed rounding down, and of course 10 energy because it's a wit tap. And the question to ask yourself is, if that appeared to you, just ignore all the little rainbow shiny buttons. If you just had the option of taking 23 wit, 4 speed, and 10 energy, everything else notwithstanding, would you be happy? And I think the answer is yes. Like, that's a perfectly fine tap in the middle game. It's not the greatest, but this is the absolute bare minimum that you would ever get from this. If you have all of a sudden another wit card, then you're getting 50 wit. Like, that's crazy because wit bonus is going to scale multiplicatively. So just alone, with no help or tap from any other card, she's very good on her own. Another thing to put in perspective, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but right now with Rico's not necessarily the best card in the world, and a lot of it's carried by her scenario link, but we use her events, and one of her events, her second event, is a change of pace, plus 24 energy, 12 stamina, 12 guts, a mood, and some bond, but we don't care about that. And these are not one-to-one comparisons, but it is 24 stats and 24 energy on a finite resource, compared to 27 stats and 10 energy on an infinite resource. Like, she's going to be on wit 10 to 15 times in a career, probably, with 35. Yeah, that's about right. It's about 25%. So You get this option a lot more than this option. We're not necessarily sad about Rico's second option. It's just something we have to press. So just bare minimum fine motion hits most of our thresholds that we feel is good. Are we going to take other things if it's just this? Yes. But if everything else notwithstanding, we're not too sad about pressing fine motion. There's not many cards in the game that do that. One of them is, of course, Nice Nature Wit, and the other one is it's Fuku. But basically, um, these two cards are like the primary Wit cards for the second year and the first year, I guess, of this game, because these cards have been out for a while. And there's not many other Wit cards that actually come up to the level of these two cards. And the other thing that these cards have is a 15% training effectiveness. So even if when it's not on Wit, it's very good, because if it's on speed with your other speed cards, it's helping those out as well. So you want it to be either on Wit or on the training that you have your other cards at. So it's really like 2 out of 5 trainings are really, really good, which is very unique because most other really good stat generation cards for their primary stat do not help with the other trainings as much as these cards have. There's very few exceptions, like, Biko Pegasus for speed is a good example of that, with just its ridiculous training effectiveness. And so I've gone through this study. There's a whole video on this. It's one of my earlier videos, so there's some stuff, the math is not 100% perfect, but when I came down to it, what I realized, and the whole point was basically to convince myself that it's okay for me to pull for Nice Nature and not Fine Motion, because they're fairly close. Fine Motion is a better stat stick. It is like 60 stats over a bunch of nice to have and quality of lives for Nice Nature. But these are a lot closer in training than there is right now. And because of the additional race bonus, Nice Nature sort of becomes the number 1 best card in Track Blazer, and Fine Motion is like the number 2 Wit card in Track Blazer. And then when Grand Live comes out, Grand Live is very hostile towards extra races. So Nice Nature goes down to be about the 3rd or 4th behind like CB, I think, and other cards, but it's still perfectly usable. And Fine Motion, I think, is pretty much the premier Wit stat stick at that point, all the way until Romanu. And just as a side note, I did do the other one, so I did 2 videos on this topic. Not going to be a hot take, but yes, she is better than Air Shakur Wit, and that is very significant. She has like 120 bonus stats compared to Air Shakur, as opposed to just like some nice to haves compared to about 40 to 50 Wit. And this is going to be multiplied a little bit in Grand Live, but these two cards I think are a lot closer than people say. And we can argue back and forth about like, hey, is it right to pull Nice Nature Wit? Is it right to pull Fine Motion? But at the end of the day, the only problem with this analysis at this point is that Fine Motion has a banner right now, and Nice Nature Wit has no more banners. So if you don't have Nice Nature, you're out of luck unless you have one and you're willing to spend your crystals and tickets on it. So there's some thoughts there that if you have like a 2LB copy of Nice Nature Wit and you have your first anti-selectors and willing to spend some money, you might just MLB Nice Nature Wit, and Fine Motion is there. The other thing to note is that Nice Nature Wit pretty much needs to be MLB because the race bonus is what you're getting over Fine Motion. You can get Runner 3LB and she's fine, but Fine Motion kind of clears her a little bit, whereas Fine Motion's 3LB is quite good. You're just sacrificing the 5% race bonus as well. So it's kind of the same situation. It's just when you have less race bonus, it's like you might as well pick the stat stick if you're choosing between the two. But it's just your cost basis of how much you need to put in to get to the point where you have an SSR Wit card. Because having an SSR Wit card in general that is a good stat stick is very good. The reason is that it's just more than the other ones, and you hit the threshold just on its own from these really high tier SSR Wit cards. The only one that is not an SSR that even gets close to really hitting the threshold on its own is Fuku Wit. And the problem with Fuku Wit is that it has a 0% race bonus and only a 5% TEF. So it is a much worse card, especially in Make a New Track, because you're going to have to spend a bunch of card slots on just 15% race bonus cards to compensate for a 0% race bonus, which is why most people would just use 2 Wit cards at that point. So the problem that I have, personally, with Fine Motion is that she just gives me nothing as a late surger main. Like, her skills are just bad for late surgers. She gives corner adept, and yeah, that's fine. They're generic skills. Nimble Nav's generic skills, but she is really focused as a frontliner. So you're looking for, as a front runner, you're looking for greens. So if the track is right-handed, you got right-handed. If we're in fall, we're in fall, and yeah, you have corner depth and a lot of good generic skills with a couple of greens with the highest stat stick in the game. That sounds pretty good for a front runner. For a pace chaser, you do have Speed Star, which I'll note on in a bit, and you basically have Speed Star plus some decent speed skills, plus corner depth and generic skills on the best stat stick in the game. So even though she only gives you a little bit for each of those, because it's on the best stat stick in the game, it's what we call good enough. And a note on Speed Star, yeah, it's an expensive skill, but hey, it's good on long. Like, the spurt is far enough away from the final corner that you don't have to worry about it. And I think late race speed skills are underrated, because there's some things in the mid race that kind of, I know you can speed carry over for like five times extra effectiveness, but late race speed skills are still pretty good. It is very expensive, I will give it that, but it's really just bad on mediums because the spurt gets really close to the final corner. And so some tracks where it's spaced out a little bit like this, you can sort of gamble it, because if it procs late, you're good. But other tracks that we're going to see in coming up, it's just right next to it, and it's just you can't pick Speed Star. Miles is really good because you can just get some speed carryover on it. It's a mid-race speed skill, and same with sprints. So the only problem is that in the next 5 CMs, 3 of them are mediums. So that's why Speed Star is like not a really good skill in the next year, because almost all of them are mediums at this point. But yeah, you pick Fine Motion because it's basically 2 SRs in output. With a little bit of help, she basically can carry your run, get you to 600 wit all on her own. If you're looking for 1200, her plus another wit card of any type, basically, which means like your bourbon wit will get you like 1000 wit on its own. So that is her true strength. And the thing is that eventually after Grand Live, we have Romanu. And I have heard dialogue from Romanu, and it's been conflicting, but just everything I've heard from it just kind of reinforces my point that, like, you don't necessarily absolutely need this card, because I've heard that if you're playing Romanu later, you're playing Romanu plus another wit card that has a skill for your style, because you're going to run out of skill. One, you're going to either run out of things to buy with your skill points. 2, because Romanu actually has pretty good wit generation. Or 3, because you're running Romanu on her own for certain tracks because she has that good of wit generation. And yes, it's probably less than Fine Motion, but she has the best mile and medium skill in the game at that point. She has a good mile and medium skill for the next year or two. And because the wit cap isn't really increased very much, and you don't need more than, because of diminishing returns, you're usually fine with Romanu and whatever card you decide to choose. So would you rather have a card that doesn't represent your style, or would you rather have any of the cards that do represent your style? And after Romanu, or Ramanu, whatever you want to call it, we're going to be getting a bunch of wit cards that have style-based skills, and even some before. Mr. CB's coming out, for example, for end closers. And so, is Fine Motion a good pull? I did talk about this. It's a good pull. It is the best stat stick in the game for wit. I think it's unmatched. It's a lot closer to a lot of cards than people think, but the feels-based analysis is that, yes, you're going to get big numbers with this card. Is she a must-pull? She absolutely is not a must-pull. There's some considerations to have. She, like I said, is a good pull. Am I pulling for Fine Motion? No, and the specific reason is that I have Nice Nature Wit and will be MLBing her with the tickets coming up. And specifically because I am a backline player, so I plan on having having Nice Nature Wit and Mr. CB as my 2 wit cards to slot in with Romanu when Romanu comes out, or for Grand Live, running both of them together because it's probably fine. And I guess if it's not good enough wit generation, I just either borrow Fine Motion because I'm pulling for the scenario card, or I'm running like Nice Nature Wit with like a Fuku or something because she has good wit generation in general. All right, so in conclusion, some questions to ask yourself. The only must-have is that, are you going to be able to get her to 3 LB+? So do you have 60,000 carats for 2 full rotations? Do you have 30,000 carats and 2 copies? Because this card has existed for a while, you might have gotten a few of them already. If you have 30,000 carats and a willingness to use a crystal plus 2 tickets, possibly, if you get absolutely destroyed by RNG. Some things that to think about that will pull you away from pulling this character is, do you already have a decent SSR wit card? Like if you have one that's good enough to run standalone in those long tracks and that is able to be paired with like Fuku in Grand Live or whatever SR card is decent in Grand Live. If you do, you may not need this card as a stat stick. Do you have all your race bonus cards set for Mant? If you don't, you may want to actually pull on the next banner that has a couple of the good SRs with or the decent SRs with some race bonus attached to them. Sorry, other way around. If you do have a bunch of race bonus cards set, I don't want to give misinformation here. Sorry. If you don't have race bonus cards set, then yes, pull on it because you want to get your SRs up for that. If you do have race bonus cards set, you may not need it for Mant, and you may just be able to wait on it until Mr. CB if you're like a late surger or an end closer main. If you need your SRs, this is a very, very good banner to pull on. If you are brand new to the game, you may even consider re-rolling on this banner, which means that, hey, if you haven't spent money in the game yet, keep remaking your account over and over again until you have this card MLB. It's not that difficult to do. There's plenty of reroll guides out there, but this card is one that is basically, it's not a Kidison Black level, but it's the tier beneath it, and it will help you a lot in the next coming month in accelerating your account by probably about 3 to 4 months. And finally, if you're a Pace Chaser or a Frontrunner main, this card's a lot better than if you're a Backliner main. I think if you're an End Closer main, I think Mr. CV is just the better pull, in my opinion. I could be alone on that. I just like skills over stats, personally. So I hope this was useful. I know I have some pointed opinions on this card. Most of it's because she only gives me Prepared to Pass. I never get Speedstar when I want it. You've seen my aces and Pace Chasers. So I have a grudge against this card a little bit, so I am slightly biased, and I am a late surger main, so I am also biased away from the cards that give Frontrunner and Pace Chaser skills. So keep that in mind. Use that to form your own analysis, and if you're pulling for this character card rather, good luck to you, and I hope you get it fairly quickly. So with that, burb out.